In the vast and ever-expansive world of manga, there are many famous groups of characters that stand out in terms of lore, power, and importance in their own verse, leading their fans to idolize these groups as they believe them to be unbeatable due to their insanely influential portrayal within a given series. However, when it comes to cross-verse scaling, there are many different levels to this, meaning just because a group like the Disaster Curses consists of top-tier fighters for the series of Jujutsu Kaisen, does not mean that power would translate well to another series like Bleach, for example. Which is why today I'll be tackling the question of which group is superior between the OG Navy Admirals from One Piece and the legendary Sannin from Naruto, by going over categories such as attack potency, durability, speed, and hacks, to determine who wins this matchup between two of the most iconic groups of three in all of Shonen, and why. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I'd first like to ask that you like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy versus battle content like this, as it helps boost the video in the algorithm, and your support would be appreciated tremendously. To kick off the scaling though, the first thing we need to discuss when talking about these two groups is their attack potency, starting off with the Admirals. And to avoid an absolute war in the comments section, I will be providing both the low and high end scale in terms of the Admirals' attack potency, beginning with the high end meta, which revolves around the statement of Whitebeard having the power to destroy the world with his devil fruit, which would put him at anywhere between planet to large star level in terms of attack potency, depending on what calc you use for the One Piece planet size and its validity. And since Akaino's Magu Magu no Mi is stated to have the highest offensive power among devil fruits and is displayed to be on par with the Gura Gura no Mi, this would also give Akainu and by extension Aokiji and Kizaru planetary to star level attack potency, as they are stated on multiple occasions to be around the same level as pre-timeskip Sakazuki. However, I would like to note that the scaling is pretty contentious and these arguments don't do well under scrutiny, which is why a more realistic meta to use for scaling the Admiral's AP is upscaling them from base Luffy, who Kizaru was able to block a Haki-infused kick from with just pure physical strength. With this being the same Luffy who was able to split the sky alongside Kaido, which is a feat that has been pixel scaled and calced to have country levels of kinetic energy output, which would make all the Admirals bare minimum country level physically and much stronger with their fruit powers. As for the Sannin and their AP though, like with the Admirals, I will be providing both the high and low end interpretation for the group's collective power, again starting with the high end, which is based upon the statement of Orochimaru and the other Sannin having multiple country level statements while just in base. And that's without even mentioning their enhanced states such as Jiriya's Sage Mode or Orochimaru's Hydra forms, which are at least 10 times amps in power as their more perfected versions of the Curse Mark II state, which is a stated 10 times multiplier as the form is based on Shugo Sage Mode Kekkei Genkai. Meaning all of the Sannin at full power would be well into large country level when using this method of scaling. However, just like with the Admiral's high-end scaling, I would like to implore anyone attempting to use this method to keep in mind that the scaling can get inconsistent in certain areas, and a far better method for scaling the Sannin's AP is off Jiriya's massive Rasengan, which is stated by Data Book 3 to have the ability to carve away a mountain, with this hypothetical feat being calced to have an explosive yield equal to 705 megatons of TNT, which would comfortably slot all of the Sannin in the large mountain tier in terms of attack potency. With the attack potency section wrapped up though, we can now dive into hacks, once again starting with the Admirals, whose abilities are rather straightforward, as all three original Admirals are reliant on their Logia Devil Fruits, which grant them the ability to generate and control the extremely potent elements of Magma, Ice, and Light, allowing them to spam these elemental attacks endlessly and with incredible range. In addition to this, all the Admirals also possess standard Logia intangibility, which allows a Logia type user to become untouchable to non-Haki infused attacks, similar to Obito's Kamui ability. And this intangibility is not just limited to non-Haki users either, as the Admirals have shown that they're capable of morphing around any physical attack like Katakuri by presumably using Future Sight, which gives a user one of the most advanced applications of precognition in all of manga. In addition to their top-tier observation Haki though, the Admirals have also arguably displayed the usage of advanced armament Haki, as we've seen them flowing armament Haki into a barrier to block Whitebeard's Quake, which is extremely similar to the Rio/Internal Destruction that Hyogoro uses in Udon Prison. As for the Sannin and their hacks though, things get a lot more complicated, so we'll go through each individual member's abilities one by one, starting off with Tsunade, as she possesses the most basic toolkit of the group. Since she mainly relies on her ultra precision in terms of chakra control to achieve superhuman physical strength, which she pairs alongside her top tier medical ninjutsu that she can use to heal others as well as herself if need be. With the pinnacle of her medical ninjutsu mastery being her 100 healings technique, which grants Tsunade regeneration so potent that she can easily recover from critical organ damage in seconds like it was nothing, just like her grandfather Hashirama, making her an almost unkillable tank of a ninja. Tsunade's abilities aren't just limited to healing, however, as she can also amp a teammate's chakra and ninjutsu many times beyond the normal limit while in her 100 healing state, making her an insane asset in battle, especially when working alongside others. With Tsunade's abilities out of the way, we can now start talking about Jiriya and his arsenal of hacks, starting with his mastery over fire, water, earth, and wind release, which allows him to use techniques like his various fire and oil jutsu, as well as one of his signature jutsu, the earth-style Dark Swamp, which is so large that it has the ability to sink giant-sized summoning creatures, let alone normal-sized human beings. Speaking of signature jutsu, Jiriya is also iconic for his use of the Lion's Mane technique, which allows for him to amp his hair with chakra to not only attack from short to mid-range distances, but to also shield himself from oncoming attacks by completely covering his body with hair. Jiriya's abilities don't stop there, however, as he's also famous for his access to several toad summons with a variety of abilities, starting with his boss toads that he uses for high-level opponents and other giant summons when he's at a disadvantage or in need of size, with these boss toads being even stronger than Jiriya himself. Moving on, Jiriya's next notable toad is unnamed, but its special trait is that Jiriya can summon just its esophagus to trap and kill opponents by having the toad literally digest them, with this attack being normally inescapable, though it has been seen that one can escape the toad's mouth with enough raw power like Itachi with his Amaterasu. On to the next toad summons, though, we have Manpa, who Jiriya summons when he needs to use Sage Mode, as after fusing themselves into Jiriya's shoulder, they can channel natural energy into him, allowing for automatic entry into Sage Mode without needing to meditate beforehand. And while in Sage Mode, Jiriya's chakra, attack power, strength, durability, and perception abilities are all amped at least 10 times, scaling off the CM2 multiplier. In addition to this, Sage Mode users are also granted danger sensing abilities, which gives them foreknowledge of events, allowing them to act accordingly when reacting to incoming threats, similar to the Sharingan's movement tracking. Aside from allowing Jiriya to access Sage Mode, though, both Ma and Pa are extremely proficient with the use of elemental techniques that require the nature manipulation of wind and water, and they can even amp Jiriya's fire techniques using these nature leashes. Ma and Pa's greatest ability, though, is their use of a technique known as Frog Song, which is a sound-based genjutsu that completely paralyzes an opponent and leaves them open to attack, which we've seen Jiriya take advantage of against Pain. After Ma and Pa, though, the last toad worth mentioning in Jiriya's arsenal is another unnamed toad that Jiriya can use to trap an opponent in a separate time space that has no provable method of escaping and is covered in a pool of acid, making the summon a great option for BFRing opponents. On to Orochimaru's abilities, though. Despite him having a reputation for desiring vast amounts of ninjutsu, the only hacks we've really seen him utilize is his ability to summon snakes of varying sizes and amounts, as well as the occasional what the fuck technique like paralyzation through giving a curse mark, or his ability to use reanimation jutsu, which he used to summon Hashirama and Tobirama in a severely nerfed state. However, they were still around the same level as Orochimaru and Hiruzen, meaning the Sannin will have the additional advantage of 2 more teammates that are just as strong as them and have their own additional abilities like Hashirama's Wood Style, which can restrain and suppress opponents, as well as Tobirama's Water Release ninjutsu that covers several meters in terms of radius, which could pose a real threat to all of the Admirals due to their weakness to water. Additionally, neither Hashirama or Tobirama can be killed as Edo Tensei and can regenerate from mortal wounds even if Orochimaru were to die, which is very unlikely to even take place considering Orochimaru is not immortal and can live through basically anything, whether it be losing an arm, total bisection, getting his throat slit, and even being turned into literal ash. So long as a portion of him remains, Orochimaru can come back. Moving past abilities, the last and possibly most important aspect of this matchup we need to discuss is speed, and we'll go ahead and continue with the Sannin as their speed is extremely easy to scale. Since every single member of the Sannin would just upscale from base Kakashi, who is able to move at Mach 15,750 or around 2% the speed of light when intercepting Kakazu's lightning, which would slot all of the Sannin in the sub-relativistic tier in terms of combat speed. And before anyone tries to argue that the Sannin are actually light speed via upscaling from Haku, I just wanted to make it clear that Jiriya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade do not scale to Haku's ice mirrors in terms of speed, since the group being light speed would be inconsistent with the light speed Raikage being the fastest living shinobi pre-KCM Naruto, which is confirmed by Madara when he comments on Tsunade being the slower of the 2 Kage, making it impossible for her, Jiriya, or Orochimaru to be anywhere close to light speed. While on the topic of light speed though, we can now transition into the Admirals and just how fast they are, which is an extremely controversial topic due to many fans fallaciously Calcs stacking characters to be billions of times faster than light, which has been proven to be an inconsistent form of scaling time and time again, especially since this method can be used to rank any form of long-running shonen, which is why a more valid interpretation for how fast the Admirals are is just baseline light speed to low FTL scaling off Kizaru, the literal light man, who can also fight Rayleigh, someone that was able to outpace and tag Kizaru well in his light form, which has been calced at slightly faster than light, placing all of the Admirals in the low FTL tier in terms of combat speed. Now, when discussing just how a battle between the Sannin and the Admirals plays out, it could go one of two ways, with the first way just being an absolute stomp for the Admirals if we're talking standard scaling, as they vastly outscale the Sannin, whether we're talking about the high or low end interpretation for their overall stats. However, if we're talking about equal stats, then things get a lot more complicated, as the Sannin possess multiple win cons against the Admirals, whether it be Orochimaru using Tobirama's water style, or Jiriya immobilizing them with Frog Song. However, that doesn't mean the Admirals are pushovers in terms of an equal stats fight either, as their durability, negation, and nearly untouchable nature with Future Sight make them a nightmare matchup to go up against whether verses are equalized or not. And they would also be more than capable of killing Orochimaru and Tsunade if they're caught up in any elemental attack of a large enough scale, with the same going for any of the Sannin's giant summonings. So with the scaling I've presented, I think it's overall safe to say that the Admirals are a vastly superior group to the Sannin, and if the two were to meet in battle, the result wouldn't even be close. Before the video wraps up though, I would like to give a special thanks to my boy Bishop for sponsoring the video, since it wouldn't have been possible without him, and I would also like to ask that you guys join our Discord server, which I'll link in the description below. With all that being said though guys, I hope you're having a great day wherever you are, and until next time.